we're going to look at the DecisionNode class, after which we'll discuss how to load up the CSV. So next up in this video, we're going to look at the DecisionNode class. So let's take a look. The DecisionNode class, you'll notice that the project has a decision map test, which is essentially where you're running the code. That's your main. I have added a utility class to help with things like displaying line breaks and some sort of simple user interface stuff, just to simplify the code. So you have obviously a decision map and you have a decision node. So let's have a look at the decision node. The decision node, what you can do is if you stick to a simple branch with a yes or no option, you can pretty much take this and as it is. What it does is it gives an ID for each node. We discussed IDs with decision nodes in the previous video. You also have an ID for the yes, an ID for the no. You have the description and the question. So these four pieces of data can be loaded up directly from each line of the code. There's your node ID, your yes ID, your no ID, your description, and your question. So we'll talk about the mechanism used to load up that comma-separated file into the code in a moment. You then have a linked node which will take you in the yes direction. So behind the yes decision, it has to actually link to the node which is represented by that line there. And you do the same thing with the no. Truthfully, this linked node is probably redundant, but what I'm going to do is leave it in there, and you might understand why I have, in addition to all of that, a separate linked node. Okay, now this is the point at which you will have to draw on the knowledge we have discussed so far, because you'll understand the process of loading up that comma-separated file. Right, you have an empty constructor, you simply have get link, set link, you have your get and your setters, and that's pretty much as you would expect. So that's all there really is to the decision node. If you need more than a yes and a no branch, and at this stage I'm going to only talk about this, you would obviously need to expand these fields appropriately, and other bits of code would have to change in a corresponding way.